morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. My name is Colleen and I'd like to welcome you back to our channel. I am today going to work on something that's been requested by some of the people that are following us. And I've also had a couple people stop me on the street to ask me about this, about whether or not you can can meat. And the answer to that is yes, of course you can, but you definitely have to have a pressure canner in order to can meat. So I will be back in a minute and we'll get this process started. Well, folks, I hope this video turns out all right today. I'm trying on a different camera, so let's hope everything goes well. Today we're going to can chicken, and I happen to have chicken thighs that I'm going to can, and I'm going to dry pack them. So I got some on the last sale at the grocery store, and you can put them into the freezer and hold them for a time until you're ready to can them. These particular chicken thighs have the skins on and the bone in, and mostly we used canned chicken to make chicken salad or to add it to a salad. So I'm going to take the skin off because honestly there isn't anything nearly, I think, as gross as having gooey canned chicken skin. And I also try and take down as much of the fat as I can because you don't want that riding around in your jars. One of the fantastic things about dry packing or dry canning any kind of meat is that it sits and cooks in its own juice. So you end up with a really fantastic flavored stock, I guess. Well, it's not stock because you haven't added all the bits and bobs of carrots and onions and so forth, but you definitely have nothing but the flavor of the meat. And it's been intensified because there's been no water put in there to make it diluted in any way. So I'm just going to the bone and I'm just removing the bone. And I am not going to make you stand here while I do this whole process. So I will get back. So this is the chicken thigh when I have removed the bone. I've just got a bit of fat on this one I'm going to trim off and make it as thin or as lean, sorry, as possible. And then I'm going to cut that in quarters in order to pack it in the jar. It makes processing a little bit easier. And I will come back as soon as I've got this all done. So hang in there. Well, folks, I have removed all of the meat from the bones with this this group of chicken thighs that I've been working on this morning, and now I've just gotten clean, fresh jars. I haven't made these hot or soaked them in any way because they're going to be at 15 pounds pressure for 90 minutes. So that takes care of everything that you need to do to make them safe. So now I'm just going to, I'm not cramming them in, but I am putting them into the jar, just filling it up so that there's about a 1-inch head space. Yep, that looks good. Generally speaking, this little rim right here that is the top of the jar will give you a 1-inch measure. And then to each jar, I'm going to add just a ½ teaspoon of salt because I'm working with pint jars and I think that's plenty. We do keep a bit of an eye on salt around here. So I hope I'm working today Saturday, May the, what is it today? The 16th. And it, of course, is the long weekend for us. That one's got a little less in it than the others. I'm just going to see if I've got enough for a fourth jar here. Well, I am going to can that little bit. So generally speaking, you don't want to have your jars too empty. So I'm just going to, take a little bit from this jar and this jar. And that'll bring me not to where I want to be, or not where, so that the jar is to within 1 inch. But this won't hurt anything. So now I'm just going to set this cutting board aside. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day today in our neighborhood. I'm sure hoping so. Things are looking pretty nice around here. Everybody's at the garden centers right now, and they are grabbing their plants, and there are so many more people this year that are either planting in pots or building garden boxes. It's incredible, and it's so good to see that people are taking their food security a little more seriously than they have previously. And I think that we can say for sure that that is because of the COVID crisis. You don't want to tighten these down, like really crank them down. You just want to finger tight them, because when they go into the pressure canner, if they build up too much pressure inside here, then they're going to buckle the lids. Or if you leave the lids loose, they have room to vent if they need to spill away. So I have 4 jars. I'm just going to set up the canner, and then I will show you a little bit about the canner before we go any further. Be right back. Well, folks, I'm not sure how good you can see this. I hope that you can see it okay. I have here the Nesco pressure canner, and I chose this canner when we moved to a new house because we have a glass top stove, and I wasn't that confident that my pressure canner loaded up wouldn't crack the stove. So I did a lot of research before I chose this canner, because this canner, or most of the electric canners that I found online, would only pressure up to 10 pounds. And we live at a high altitude, over 2,000 feet. And because of that, I need for all of my recipes to be able to pressure can, particularly the meats, at 15 pounds pressure. So I was excited to find this one, and I did quite a bit of research before I made the purchase. And the canner actually comes with 2 float valves. They're, they would be, I guess, similar. I don't know if you can see this. Similar to having your pressure gauge on your canner. So this canner is similar, I guess, in construction to an Instant Pot, in that it has a sleeve inside. It has all the measurements on it, so you know how far not to go. I've got a canning rack for the bottom of it. This Nesco canner can also be used for water bath canning and for steam canning, as well as being used as a slow cooker. So it's pretty versatile. It works best with wide mouth jars, and of course if you're canning meats or stews or anything that you want to get out later, a wide mouth jar is your best option anyway. So I've put the rack in the bottom. I'm going to reach over and grab my water. We're going to put 4 cups of water into it. Simple as that. And then just place the bottles on the rack. Now, this is a small batch canner, which works out perfectly for us because there's just 2 of us in the house now. So it's quick. If I make something and I end up making it in a larger batch, I can just zip it into the jars and put it into this canner, and we don't have to worry about eating leftovers for days and days. So now that I've got it into the canner, I'm going to move the lid into the locked position, and I'm going to move the valve to exhaust because we need to do that in the first phase of canning. And then I am going to pressure cook this on high, and I'm going to up my time to 90 minutes. Oops, I was being a little generous there. There we go on 90 minutes. And I'm going to hit the start button. Now the canner starts the process. It is really as easy as setting it. And then in about 10 minutes time, it's going to beep and E10 will show up here. So it means that we're going to exhaust it for 10 minutes to make sure that we have it hot enough inside that we can close the valve, and we'll be maintaining then the 15 pounds of pressure. During the canning process, we've discovered, and I guess it's well documented, but I discovered on my own, the canner will continue to exhaust the air out, just like a traditional pressure canner. It will continue to exhaust out during the processing time. So don't be nervous if you hear it putting off quite a bit of steam, because that is completely normal for this kind of canner. So I'm going to say I'll see you in a couple of hours, because it takes 90 minutes for this to cook, and then I will let it naturally release and let it cool probably for 2 hours after that. So we're looking at about 4 or 5 hours before I'll be back again. So I will see you soon. Thanks a lot. Here we are. The canner has cooled off, and I have opened it up and let the jars cool naturally. And I'll take one of those jars out so you can see what it looks like. You will notice that they're still hot. Did I just show you my dirty dishes? So still bubbling away. The meat does shrink some, but the juice in the jar is just pure juice from the chicken. Makes excellent gravy. So we were hungering for some lunch, so I will show you what I did with one of the bubbling bottles. Just one moment.